Hey there, House here. Well, last week was not a bad one by any means. I went 10, 4, and 1, bringing my overall record to 108, 85, and 2, and my win percentage is 55%. So let's see if we can improve on that momentum. First up, we have the Thursday night game. It's the Rams versus the Raiders. By the time you watch this game will already be over. I did go to my social medias to post who I thought would be the winner. I picked the Raiders in this one. The Rams were going in with quarterback questions, whether it was going to be Wolford, who was going to be dealing with the neck injury, or if it was going to be their recently acquired Baker Mayfield, who they just cleared off of waivers on Tuesday. Turns out Wolford started, didn't throw a pass, and then the second series, Mayfield came in. Either way, picking the Raiders. Next up, we have the Lions versus the Vikings. Now, keeping with my current trend, I'm going to pick the Vikings here. And a little fun fact, ever since I started picking against the Lions after they let me down, they have gone 4-3. So that's been fun. Another little side note is that the Vikings have won 9 of their last 10 against the Lions. So this should at least help buck that trend that I've been on. Next up, we have the Steelers versus the Ravens. This one should be a pretty tough matchup. It's going to be some question marks of the quarterback position for both teams, with the Steelers still working with rookie quarterback Pickett and the Ravens having to rely on Tyler Huntley, who started a handful of games over the past couple of years with Lamar Jackson out with a knee injury. I am leaning the Steelers' way on this one, especially since the Steelers have won 4 in a row against the Ravens. Next up, we have the Bengals versus the Browns. I like the Bengals in this one, even though the Browns have won this matchup 5 times in a row. The Bengals come in with a little bit better of an offense, and the Browns will have their second start with Deshaun Watson, who showed last week that he's got a lot of rust to shake off. Picking the Bengals. Next, we have the Bills versus the Jets. I'm leaning Jets on this one. I know I picked them last week against the Vikings, and they kind of let me down. But that was also when they had 2 opportunities to score. They were at the Vikings 1-yard line, and then at the Vikings 10 with the last 2 possessions of the game, and they just couldn't punch it in. They have a pretty decent history against the Bills, especially beating them earlier this year when it was Zach Wilson. Now that it's Mike White, he's been playing a lot better. The Jets have been moving the ball a lot better. And I feel like just right now they might have the Bills number, picking the Jets. Cowboys versus Texans. This one's a no-doubter, picking the Cowboys. The Texans don't really stand a chance. Next up, we have the Giants versus the Eagles. I like the Eagles in this one, in this divisional matchup between these rivals. The Giants have been a little bit up and down, and Saquon Barkley popped up on the injury report with a neck issue. He's expected to play through it, but how effective is he really going to be able to be against this team? Picking the Eagles. All right, next up we have the Titans versus the Jaguars. Jaguars also dealing with a little bit of an injury bug. Trevor Lawrence, who got injured last week's game at the end of the first half with what looked to be a scary knee injury. Fortunately for the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, he was able to come back in the second half to finish that game. So he is dealing with the after effects of that. He'll more than likely still play, but it's going to be tough against this Titans team that has won this matchup 5 times in a row. Broncos versus the Chiefs. Week in and week out, no offense looks more anemic than the Broncos, and they're going against this Chiefs offense that puts up points against nearly anybody, no matter how good the defensive matchup is. I like the Chiefs here. All right, and then we have the Seahawks versus the Panthers. I like the Seahawks here. They came up last week and showed out with Geno Smith throwing over 300 passing yards. The Panthers are going to be going with Sam Darnold at quarterback, with P.J. Walker still injured and Baker Mayfield waived. So they're going to go back with Darnold and see if he can still be the quarterback of their future or not. It's going to come with some struggles like the Seahawks. 49ers versus the Bucs. The Bucs came from behind on Monday and won in a surprising comeback against the Saints. They were down 16-3 with 5 minutes to go, and then an offense that showed no ability to move the ball whatsoever came alive and scored 2 late touchdowns that beat the Saints 17-16. I don't think it's going to quite happen this way, partially because the 49ers have a much better defense than the Saints. And even without Jimmy Garoppolo, who broke his foot and is expected to be out for the rest of the season, but now there's some speculation that he might be available for playoff time. The 49ers are going to go with their Mr. Irrelevant pick from this year, the rookie quarterback Purdy, and he came in last week, played really well for them. They still have a bunch of playmakers on their team, namely Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey. I like the 49ers here. All right, next up we have the Chargers versus the Dolphins. Dolphins still dealing with some injuries as well with Jalen Waddle and Tua Tagovailoa. They're both expected to play. I would anticipate they're all going to play a little bit better than they did last week in their embarrassing loss to the 49ers, 33-17. The Dolphins, who are a high-powered offense that just got shut down last week. The Chargers, fortunately for them, do not have that kind of defense. So the Dolphins should go back to airing it out a little bit more effectively. And last up, we have our Monday night matchup, the Cardinals versus the Patriots. A matchup that I can't imagine anybody's really excited to see on a Monday night. Neither team's really performing all that well. I really thought that with the return of DeAndre Hopkins that the Cardinals offense would be performing a lot better than it has been. It just has not happened to any kind of consistency. I like the Patriots in this matchup with a solid defense and a commitment to a run game. And Mac Jones actually playing really well this year so far after he came back from injury. He's been airing it out and making some really nice passes for the Patriots. Now, before I leave you, I wanted to try my hand at some World Cup predictions. So let's see how these go. We have 4 upcoming matches, 2 on Friday and 2 more on Saturday, I believe. The first match will be Croatia versus Brazil. I'm leaning Brazil's way. I like them in this matchup. And over the previous 4 matches, Brazil's been the winner. So they're a pretty clear favorite. Next, we have the Netherlands versus Argentina. Now, the last 2 times these teams met, it ended without a single goal being scored, and with the last one eventually being won by Argentina via penalty shots. I think this one will be a little bit different outcome just by the fact that there will be a goal scored within either the first half or second half or extra time. But I still see Argentina being the winners. All right, next up we have Morocco versus Portugal. Now, these are 2 teams that have only met twice before, and with both sides winning once. Morocco is the definite underdog in this matchup, but who doesn't love an underdog? Plus, Morocco coming into a matchup where nobody expected them to be. I like them in this one over Portugal. And last up, we have England versus France. Now, France has gone 3-1-1 in the past 5 matchups against England, and in my opinion, they're the pretty clear favorite to win this entire thing. So I'm picking France. Well, there you have it. Those are my picks. Thank you for tuning into the House Report. If there are some selections that I made that you disagree with, please leave your own picks in the comment section. And lastly, for all my betting friends out there, remember, you win some and you lose some, but the house always wins.